Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's What's Up Wednesday, where we are going live with you on Facebook and LinkedIn every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time to talk about our upcoming 22nd annual International Human Trafficking and Social Justice Conference, hosted virtually on September 17th through the 19th. We are exactly 4 weeks away from our conference, and I am so excited for it to be here. My name is Anna Schramm, and I am the conference planner working at the University of Toledo's Human Trafficking and Social Justice Institute. And today we have a special guest with us, Dr. Rochelle Dalla. Rochelle is a professor at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Human Trafficking. So hi, Rochelle. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thanks for inviting me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, so today we're going to be focusing and talking to you about our international presentations at the conference. Over the summer, we have talked a lot about all of the different sessions that people can attend. We talked about our programming, our research, direct service, legal and law enforcement, and our healthcare sessions already so far. We are very diverse. I keep saying it over and over again. But we also, as an international conference, we have international topics and speakers and attendees who come, so you can learn about what is happening in different parts of the world on issues of human trafficking and social justice. But before we get into that, Rochelle, can you just start us off by telling us a little bit more about yourself and the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I am a professor. I work in the Department of Child, Youth, and Family Studies at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I think this is my 30th year.
Oh, wow.
I know, 30 years there.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's a huge accomplishment.
It's gone really fast. So I must be happy. I am happy here.
Yes.
My academic role involves teaching. So I teach undergraduate students as well as graduate students. I advise graduate students at the master's level and at the PhD level. We specifically have one specialization that's called Global Family Health and Wellbeing, and that is the doctoral specialization that I advise in and teach in. And then as part of my academic role, I'm also involved in lots of research. So right now I have projects domestically and internationally, although for the past, I'd say 20 years, my research has really been international and mostly focused in India, although recently I've got a project going on in Kazakhstan that I'm going to tell you a little bit about later in the program. And as you mentioned, I'm also the editor-in-chief of Journal of Human Trafficking, and I love that role. It takes up a pretty good chunk of my time, but I love it, and it gives me access to amazing cutting-edge science on all issues related to human trafficking.
Yeah. So you mentioned a bit, so you're based in the States, but you do a lot of your research and work internationally. And so like you mentioned that. And so just wanted to highlight that because since we are talking about our international sessions, so you are not abroad yourself, you do a lot of that work internationally.
So I travel. If I can,
Yeah.
I go to because of my research, I'm a qualitative researcher. And so I really like to go to be in the context where my participants are and, do one-on-one. But yes, I do travel. And India, I think I've been there like 15 or 16 times now.
Yeah.
Not just for research, but for other things. But yeah, it's travel.
Yeah, no, that's great because it's being in that environment and talking to the individuals that you are conducting research with, I think is so important. So can you talk a little bit about why we have international topics or we want to include international perspectives at a conference like this on human trafficking and why we want to include those voices as part of the overall conversation and solution to combating trafficking?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could probably talk about this for a very long time, but I'm going to keep it just really short. International perspectives are vital. They're absolutely vital to informing anti-trafficking knowledge, expertise, understanding, and advocacy in order to mitigate current and future exploitation. And I guess the best way to really explain this or to describe it is to think about the amount of diversity we have, not just within countries, but then if you think about across between like the United States and India or the United States and China, the differences in religion, in politics, in economics, in just in culture. And all of those things, all those factors and myriad other issues directly and indirectly impact risk and risk exposure for victimization. And so if you think about all those differences and how they can impact a person and their lives, and then what might lead to risk, it's just it's unending. And then the other piece of that too is that those same kind of differences in, again, environment, culture, economics, politics, they also impact the opportunities, motives, and modes of exploitation used by perpetrators. And so international and cross-cultural research it's incredibly vital for building knowledge in order to move anti-trafficking efforts forward on a global scale. And I think that's what we're all here about and what we want to see happen.
Yeah, no, you sum that up so well. And I feel honored that we're able to bring these international perspectives and international topics to the conference. We've always been an international conference and had a lot of people who've traveled to attend the conference when it was in person. But I feel like since moving virtual in 2020, our international attendance and even presenters who can present at this conference on their work done in other countries has really expanded. I mean, last year alone, we had attendees from 25 different countries just at the one conference. And we're up now to a total of 60 countries who have attended the conference over the 22 years. So, and that has just grown exponentially since being virtual. And I think when people ask me about, are you going to go back to in person, or why do you stay virtual when, COVID is over? I really bring it back to the international piece. I mean, we are able to include them and their voices, not only as presenters, but also attendees, for them to be able to network on this kind of a level and with these people who are doing this great work. And so I love that we are continuing to have these conversations and these international perspectives at the conference. But speaking of the conference being in person, you have been a part of this conference since the very beginning days, when it was very small in person at the University of Toledo till now. So talk about your experience with the conference and why you keep coming back year after year.
There's so many reasons. There's so many reasons. I think, first of all, just getting involved is because I have so much admiration and respect for Celia and Dr. Williamson, Celia putting together like the Global Association of Human Trafficking Scholars and getting involved with that, and then sort of its connection to the conference. I just wanted to be involved with it because, again, of my admiration for her and what I knew she could accomplish. And so that was really just fun, and it's fun to see it grow through time. But then now what I really, really love, one of the things that I think makes this conference unique is that it really very strategically addresses issues important to researchers and academics, to practitioners, to survivors, and to lay people alike. So those just really interested in learning more about social justice and human trafficking. So there is such a broad array of issues covered at the conference and covered from so many perspectives that it appeals to a wide range of interests and needs and appetites, so to speak. So I think that's tremendous and something unique about this conference. Another thing that I absolutely really love about this conference as a presenter is that the sessions are an hour long. And most conferences, professional conferences, speakers have about 10 to 12 minutes to talk. And to be honest with you, that is just not enough time to really get into the meat of what you want to share. It's like a teaser only. And so it's kind of wow. And especially if there aren't a lot of people in attendance and you've traveled and you've spent a lot of money, then you're like, okay, I don't know what kind of impact that was. It sort of leaves you like wondering if your points really got across. But when you get an hour to talk, you really can make sure that you get your points across, you get what you're talking about really described well, and then the audience really is able to get, I think, a lot more out of it. So it really works in both ways. It's beneficial to audience members, it's beneficial to the presenters, just in terms of walking away with a much greater understanding. And then the final thing that I love about this conference is something you just mentioned, and that it's online now. And so it reaches a much broader audience. And then I'm really glad you brought up the international presenters, because conferences tend to be incredibly expensive.
Mhm.
And so it really alienates individuals from lower middle income countries, or from, domestically, individuals who just don't have the funds to travel. So not only can you attend virtually, but then speakers get a discounted rate, right?
Mhm.
Which is also not very common in professional conferences. And so again, you don't need to feel like alienated from this rich, important information because of money. So I mean, those three things alone are worth it, just to be involved and to continue being involved.
Well, it is a value to have you be involved in our conference for this long, and I'm so glad that you see the worth of our conference. Because I might be biased, I see it as well, but it's great to hear other people's perspectives, and I think you continue to bring rich research and knowledge to this conference every year. I think you've presented almost every conference, maybe a couple times you haven't, but you are presenting, I think, in 3 different sessions this year, 2 of which are from international research. So the title of your one session is "I Give Courage to My Mom: Mother and Child Experiences as Residents of an Urban Red Light Brothel District in India." And then the title of your other session is "Human Trafficking in Kyrgyzstan: How Roadblocks, Barriers, and Methodological Challenges Transformed an Investigation." So I know you're going to be talking about a lot. And like you said, you have an hour for each of those presentations to really dive into the meat. But can you give a little teaser, a little sneak peek into what you're going to be talking about at this conference for people who might be interested?
Yeah, both of these projects, I honestly love both of them. So the first one that you mentioned, "I Give Courage to My Mom," this is a collaborative project with Dr. Shibari Karandikar of Ohio State. She's also a member of GATS, a longtime member. And basically, in that research project, what we were focused on is residents in a red light brothel district that's right basically on the outskirts of Mumbai. Some of the red light districts in Mumbai have really been tapped a lot for research. Where we were, I don't think there's ever been any empirical investigations coming out of this red light area. But the thing that I really, really wanted to do when we were going in there is hear the voices of the children. And that is really unique in a lot of research looking at sex trafficking. And so what we were able to do, and I should mention that this project started during COVID. So Shivari and I were not able to go to India to collect the data. We had planned on doing it. COVID happened and all that. So we had a trained individual there who collected the data for us. And this individual was able to collect interview data from 19 mothers living in this red light brothel area and working in the sex industry. We did not specifically target those individuals who had been trafficked, but the majority of them were trafficked. That's how they ended up involved in the sex industry. And then we also were able to get interviews from 12 children, ages 12 to 17, average age of 13, and their perspectives of living in this red light brothel area. And so it's really, really fascinating. We've got information about things like family dynamics, about the risks of living in this environment. We've got information about social support. So you hear a lot more about the mother-child relationship and the social support, and things that we did not ask about that were spontaneously talked about as part of the interviews with the children specifically, is ways that their mothers try and protect them from the risks of the environment. And it's really fascinating. And it's fascinating to hear the children too, because they will talk about their perspectives of the areas. And, they'll say things like, "Well, anything can happen here. I really want my mom to move out of here because anything can happen." And it's really it's a unique study, and I'm really excited to be presenting some of the results at this conference.
That's awesome. And the other one in Kyrgyzstan?
So the other one in Kyrgyzstan, this is, again, a collaborative project. The co-PI is Dr. Sarbinaz Bekmuratova of Creighton University. She's also a member of GATS. In fact, we met through the Global
Oh,
Association.
wow. I didn't know that. That's so cool.
Because, well, Creighton University is right here in Omaha, where I live. And so after one of the GATS meetings, we connected and we're like, well, we have similar interests. Maybe we should talk. And we just ended up, with this phenomenal research project. And so basically, what this presentation is going to focus on is a lot of the difficulties of collecting data in this particular country. So we start out the presentation basically talking about, this is what the study was supposed to look like. These were our aims of the study. And then there were challenges. From recruitment challenges were everywhere. Honestly, Anna, I have never been, and I've been in a lot of international research projects. I have never experienced some of the challenges like we did here. This was supposed to be a 1-year project. We are now, I think, on year 4 or 5.
Wow.
Because it has been so difficult. And so I think if individuals are interested in international research specifically, that this particular presentation is really going to talk a lot about some of the unexpected things that happened. I mean, we were following best practice guidelines in terms of international research, in terms of cross-cultural research, in terms of research on sensitive topics and with sensitive and vulnerable populations. Right? We follow the best practice guidelines, but that didn't mean that we also did not then continue to experience issues. And I think that's important to understand for people wanting to do this kind of work. And so we talk about then kind of how we responded and reacted to some of these things. And actually, the study has now ended up being much better than it was originally designed to be.
Nice.
So it originally was supposed to be, an investigation of sex trafficking survivors, looking at these things. It now is an investigation of sex and labor trafficking survivors, in addition to a survey, a general survey of the population, looking at awareness, risk for being victimized. And I think it really highlights that your study is not going to be perfect. It's not, I mean, I can guarantee it is not. Your international research, especially cross-cultural on a sensitive and highly stigmatized topic, is not going to go according to plan. But if you have fortitude and then you're willing to be creative and resourceful, it can really evolve into something very, very valuable. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here.
That sounds so cool. And I like how it changed. Now you're talking about like the research process itself, especially for young researchers who might be attending the conference. So those are going to be great sessions. And I'm so glad that you're bringing that information. So for anybody who is listening, who wants to hear more from Rochelle, make sure that you are registered for our conference so you can attend those sessions. Go to our website, traffickingconference.com/register, and you'll be able to sign up there. I do want to highlight a couple of our other international sessions that are going to be at the conference. Remember, you do have over 110 breakout sessions that you can attend at this year's conference. We have been, all summer on these live streams, we've been talking about all the different topics that you can attend. So I know it's a lot and it can seem overwhelming, but it's a great variety of trying to figure out maybe what you're interested in. And there's probably going to be a session on that topic every hour. And so you're also able to go back and watch most of the recordings for 3 weeks after the conference. So you do have availability to all of that content that you can watch afterwards, so if you can't watch it live. So some of the ones that I do want to mention are Dr. Salome Lanier is going to be presenting on criminalized exploitation or lack of compliance with labor standards, analysis of the case law in 4 European countries. Next, Dr. Chloe Martin will be discussing understanding vulnerabilities in agency, migrant domestic workers from minority source countries in Hong Kong. Then a group of researchers, Dr. Andrew Hoskins, Kurt Stavorn, Cynthia Morales, and Fernando Blanco will be presenting from the front lines, global trends from the perspectives of 4 frontline advocates in Brazil, Thailand, Colombia, and the United States. And then Moses Atago Unogu will be talking about human trafficking from sub-Saharan Africa to Europe and America for organ harvesting. And then Dr. Yewande Fatoki will be presenting on the cost of freedom, women, poverty, and the criminal justice system in Nigeria. So we have a lot of countries that are going to be represented, and that's not even all of our international presentations at this year's conference. So if you want to look at our full schedule, we have all of that up, all of the descriptions, all of the presenter bios on our website, traffickingconference.com/schedule. So you can go there, check out our international sessions and all of the other topics that you can learn about at this year's conference. So Rochelle, is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up today?
No, I'm good. Again, I'm just, honored to be here and looking forward to the conference. Thanks, Anna.
Thank you. Well, we are honored to have you. So thank you for everyone who tuned in to this week's What's Up Wednesday. Remember, we go live on Facebook and LinkedIn every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time to talk about the different sessions at the conference. Next week, I'm going to have on special guest Mike Chapman on with me, and we're going to be talking about our lived experience and survivor session. So make sure you join us. Remember, you can go to our website, traffickingconference.com, to find any of the things that we talked about on today's live stream or anything else that you want to know about our conference. So thank you, Rochelle, for joining, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day and their week, and we will talk to you next time. Bye, everyone.